Hello and welcome to News Tonight, your one-stop for all the biggest news and events through the day. I am Tina Jha. Let's begin with the headlines. MJ Akbar resigns as Minister of State for External Affairs, says he'll challenge sexual harassment allegations levelled by former media colleagues against him in court. Sabarimala temple doors open to women of all ages. Clashes break out at base camp Nilakal between police and protesters, trying to restore the ban on entry of women of reproductive age. Treatment of life-threatening illnesses like cancer and heart disease at reasonable cost in district hospitals. Niti Aayog suggests guidelines on public-private partnership model. State governments to offer space, private sector to provide the services. Efforts to double India's strategic petroleum reserves. Centre starts roadshows to attract investors to build second phase of strategic oil storage. New centres to be located in Padur in Karnataka and Chandikhol in Odisha. And Amit Shah kicks off BJP's election campaign in Mizoram, accuses Congress government of failing to deliver schemes to people. In Rajasthan, BJP MLA Manvendra Singh joins the Congress. Minister of State for External Affairs MJ Akbar stepped down on Wednesday amid mounting pressure following a spate of allegations of sexual harassment against him by several women journalists. In a brief statement, Akbar said he has decided to seek justice in a court of law in his personal capacity. His sudden announcement to quit came a day ahead of hearing of a criminal defamation complaint filed by him against Priya Ramani, a journalist who accused him of sexual misconduct around 20 years ago. According to media reports, there was a view in the government that MJ Akbar should fight the case in his personal capacity and not as a union minister. Over the past 10 days, 20 women have come forward to narrate their experiences of alleged sexual harassment at the hands of Akbar during his days as editor of several mainstream publications. His resignation was welcomed by many complainants and political parties.
गवर्नमेंट का जो डिसीज़न है मैं उसका वेलकम करती हूँ क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं उन्होंने वो सब इन्वेस्टिगेशन करने के लिए जब तक पूरा ना हो ये कहा होगा कि तब तक वो अपने पद से इस्तीफा दें और नेशनल कमीशन फॉर वुमेन इसका वेलकम करता है.
BJP President Amit Shah kicked off the party's poll campaign in Mizoram on Wednesday. At a rally, he levelled corruption charges at the Congress government in the state and said it had failed to deliver services to the people. He also accused Mizoram's chief minister of running a corrupt and dynastic rule in the state. Amit Shah said the BJP would not form any alliance with any other political party in Mizoram, including the opposition Mizo National Front. The BJP is expected to contest all 40 seats of the Mizoram Assembly. Mizoram will see a single-day voting on 28th November. Results will be declared on 11th December.
मगर उनको डर है कि 129 स्कीम नरेंद्र मोदी जी की अगर मिजोरम की जनता तक पहुंची तो मोदी जी यहां लोकप्रिय हो जाएंगे. मैं चीफ मिनिस्टर मिजोरम को कहना चाहता हूं 28 नवंबर तक आप रोक लो. आफ्टर 28 नवंबर यहां भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार बनने वाली है जो 129 स्कीम को मिजोरम की जनता तक पहुंचाने का काम करेगी.
Manvendra Singh, Rajasthan BJP MLA and son of former BJP leader Jaswan Singh, joined the Congress party on Wednesday. He was welcomed into the party fold by Congress President Rahul Gandhi at his residence on Wednesday morning. His defection comes ahead of the state assembly elections in December. Along with Manvendra, his wife Chitra Singh and brother Bhupendra Singh also joined the Congress. Manvendra Singh was suspended from primary membership of the BJP for campaigning against the BJP candidate in the 2014 general election in Barmer. He had campaigned for his father Jaswan Singh, who contested the 2014 general elections as an independent. Reacting to the move, senior BJP leader Rajendra Singh said individuals are not bigger than the party. BJP's Katol MLA in Maharashtra, Ashish Deshmukh, also joined the Congress on Wednesday. The gates of Sabarimala temple opened on Wednesday for the first time since the Supreme Court allowed women of menstrual age to enter the shrine. However, violent protests ensured that none from the previously banned age group could make it to the hallowed precincts. The temple opened on Wednesday for the 5-day-long monthly puja. Several women devotees were forced to return as the protesters blocked their entry into the shrine. Chaos and mayhem ruled the day on the road, leading from Nilakil, which is the gateway to the shrine, to Pamba in the foothills, from where the devotees start the arduous trek to Sabarimala. Clashes between protesters and the police left several people injured and bleeding. The Kerala government's decision not to file a review plea against the Supreme Court's 28 September order is what had made protesters react. They pelted the police with stones while the police resorted to baton charge. Women journalists were heckled, their equipment and vehicles smashed, even as young female Ayyappa devotees turned back as protesters besieged the road leading to the abode of Lord Ayyappa.
പിൽഗ്രിംസിനെ പീസ്ഫുള്ളായിട്ട് പോകാൻ അനുവദിക്കുന്നിടത്തോളം കാലം പീസ്ഫുള്ളായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു പ്രൊട്ടസ്റ്റ് പ്രശ്നമില്ല എന്നുള്ളൊരു സ്റ്റാൻഡ് എടുത്തത് കൊണ്ടാണ്. അത് വയലൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ളൊരു ആക്ഷനിലേക്ക് പോകണ്ട എന്നുള്ളത് കൊണ്ട് മാത്രമാണ്. അത് വയലൻ്റ് ആയിട്ട് പ്രൊട്ടസ്റ്റ് വയലൻ്റ് ആയതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഇത്തരത്തിലുള്ള ഒരു ആക്ഷനിലേക്ക്. അത് ഡ്രാസ്റ്റിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സ്റ്റെപ്പിലേക്ക് പോകാതെ തന്നെ ഇത് നിയന്ത്രണ വിധേയമാക്കുക എന്നുള്ള മെഷേഴ്സാണ് ഇവിടെ നമ്മൾ നോക്കി.
On to some other news. With a view to set up additional infrastructure for the treatment of non-communicable diseases at district hospitals, Niti Aayog laid down norms for a public-private partnership model. Under the model, the private sector will be provided space for setting up facilities for treatment of cardiac, oncological and pulmonary diseases by the state governments. The cost of the treatment will be the same as specified under the Ayushman Bharat or states' insurance schemes.
The Niti Aayog has laid down guidelines for facilitating the entry of the private sector into the health sector at district level through the public-private partnership model. These guidelines for non-communicable diseases have been charted out by the Niti Aayog in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, state governments and representatives from the healthcare industry. The contribution of non-communicable diseases to the overall disease burden in the country has increased over the years. An estimated 46.9% people suffered from non-communicable diseases in 1990, and this number rose to 72.5% in 2016. Lack of facilities in government hospitals, constrained fiscal space within states to allocate increased resources for healthcare, and costly treatment in private hospitals are some of the reasons for this increase.
ज़िले के अस्पताल में अगर हम उस की सेवाओं में क्रॉनिक नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिजीज़ हैं, हार्ट की है, कैंसर की है, उसकी सुविधाओं को बढ़ाना है अगर हमने, तो उसके लिए एक फ्रेमवर्क आपके सामने एक लाया गया कि इन टर्म्स के ऊपर पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप की जा सकती है और उससे सेवा करने के लिए जो ज़िले की अस्पताल की ताकत है वो बढ़ जाती है.
4 PPP models, management of contract, build, operate and transfer model or a co-location model have been proposed. In the management of contract model, the state government will bring in a private partner for a period of 10 to 15 years for investing in equipping the government facility, hiring human resources and managing the facility, while the government will reimburse the private partner. In the purchasing of services model, the state government will identify medical and surgical procedures that a private partner whom they empanel will carry out, and the government will pay or co-pay the costs. This will be for a period of 1 to 3 years. In the build, operate and transfer model, the private partner will have the vacant land offered by the government for 30 years or more and will finance the project. The government will allow patients to be charged by the private facility. This payment will be termed user fee. The co-location model will involve the government allowing a private partner to set up a separate facility through private investment within an existing government hospital for a duration of 15 years with a renewal option. And it will also allow the private facility to charge patients.
लक्ष्य यही है कि नया इन्वेस्टमेंट हेल्थ सेक्टर में आए, वर्ल्ड क्लास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बने और गुड क्वालिटी डॉक्टर्स अवेलेबल हों और पेशेंट्स को अच्छी केयर मिले एट रीजनेबल एंड लो रेट्स. और ये जब आप ट्रांसपेरेंट कॉम्पिटिटिव बिडिंग करिएगा तो ट्रांसपेरेंट तरीके से लो रेट्स आएंगे इसके और वर्ल्ड क्लास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर्स के साथ बनेगा. तो ये ट्रांसपेरेंसी रहेगी, इसमें कॉम्पिटिटिवनेस रहेगा, अच्छी क्वालिटी रहेगी, वर्ल्ड क्लास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनेगा. ये हमारा लक्ष्य है.
The decision to create public-private partnership models in the health sector was taken in March 2016 by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The center of these PPPs are district hospitals and the focus is on preventing, diagnosing and treating non-communicable diseases like heart and lung diseases and cancer in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Panchanan Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
India will invite bids for stockpiling strategic petroleum reserves in Padur in Karnataka and Chandikol in Odisha in the next few months. The government is seeking bids to fill 19 million barrels of oil in Padur in the next 3 to 4 months. Oil reserves or its emergency fuel store stands at 36.92 million barrels of crude oil that can provide for 10 days of consumption. India now is looking to increase that capacity to have 22 days worth of reserve oil. India's bid to boost its oil reserves comes on the back of the pressure of losing Iranian oil amid impending US sanctions.
The government is going the public-private partnership way for the second phase of the Indian Strategic Petroleum Reserve that will add 6.5 million metric tons to the country's current oil reserve capacity. These reserves will be built at Chandikol in Odisha and Padur in Karnataka to store an emergency stockpile of crude oil to help India tide over any impending crisis and boost its energy security.
स्टोरेज फैसिलिटी बनाना उसमें एक महत्वपूर्ण कदम है. बड़े सफलता के साथ स्टोरेज फैसिलिटी की फेज 1 जो लगभग 5.33 मिलियन मेट्रिक टन की स्टोरेज फैसिलिटी और 10 दिन की स्टोरेज फैसिलिटी कर पा रही, उसकी सफलता के साथ पूरा हुआ है. अभी इसको जोड़ के हम आने वाले 3-4 साल में देश की ताकत को और बढ़ाएंगे.
The announcement to set up 2 new SPRs was made during the general budget for 2017-18. The approval for their construction was accorded in June this year in a meeting of the Union Cabinet chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. As per the plan, the SPR facilities at Chandikol and Padur will be underground rock caverns. The Chandikol Reserve in Odisha will have a capacity of 4 million metric tons, while the Padur Reserve will have a storage capacity of 2.5 million metric tons. Crude oil from these caverns can be supplied to refineries through pipelines or a combination of pipelines and ships. Underground rock caverns are considered the safest means of storing hydrocarbons.
And we need to have increased crude oil storage so that this could be available in emergent requirements. That's one part. Second is when the crude oil price is also very high and very high also, can we convert that also, we can also utilize that. But major is for that one emergent requirement, So this should become available.
The concept of strategic petroleum reserves to address energy insecurity was mooted by the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government in 1998. Phase 1 of the SPRs were finally commissioned in 2003. India currently has 3 strategic petroleum reserves with a total capacity of 5.33 million metric tons at the western and eastern coasts of India. They are in Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh with a capacity of 1.33 million metric tons. The reserve in Mangalore in Karnataka has a storage capacity of 1.5 million metric tons. Padur in Karnataka already has an SPR with a capacity of 2.5 million metric tons. They were built at a cost of 4,100 crore rupees by the Indian Strategic Petroleum Reserves Limited.
आज जो डिमांड है उसमें हम लोगों के पास 5 डेज रिफाइनरी की इनबिल्ट कैपेसिटी है. 10 दिन अभी जुड़ गया फेज 1 के कारण और इसमें 12 दिन जुड़ जाएगा फेज 2 के कारण। आईए की जो बेंचमार्क है वो 90 डेज की है।
Currently, the government is eyeing public-private partnership for the proposed Phase 2 SPRs for construction, filling and operation and commercialization of the existing Phase 1 SPR at Padur. Petroleum Minister Dharmendra Pradhan held a roadshow on Wednesday to elicit investor interest in the SPRs. The government will prepare a suitable model for onboarding of investors based on the interests of prospective partners. Looking for international competitive bidding, the government is also planning similar roadshows in Singapore and London.
Cabinet granted the approval.
With inputs from Leena Sharma, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The two-day 12th Asia-Europe meeting is all set to begin in Belgian capital Brussels from Thursday. Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu will lead the Indian delegation at what will be his first multilateral summit since assuming office in August last year. The summit will focus on investment, security and tourism amid several other concerns.
Europe and Asia.
Brussels is set to host the 12th Asia-Europe meeting on 18th and 19th October. Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu will lead an Indian delegation to the summit with the theme Global Partners for Global Challenges.
And for the world.
In the multilateral dialogue, the leaders will discuss terrorism, climate change and trade amid other issues.
Of the ASEM summit in Brussels.
Multilateralism, free trade and other systems built over the years are facing an onslaught, and the liberal democracies are no longer on the same page on many issues, which gives a leeway for many players to emerge on the international scene. The idea that internationalism has benefited some groups or countries unequally, and that interconnectivity is a source of more threats than opportunities lies behind, perhaps it lies behind some of the loss of support for multilateralism and free trade.
In the summit, India will put forward its concerns on protectionism and curbs being put by developed countries on immigrant workers from developing nations.
It is important for like-minded partners like India and the EU to ensure that the new system that emerges upholds the concepts of democracy, freedom, rule of law, respect for human rights and territorial integrity of states, multilateralism, and rule-based international order. It has been reiterated many a times by our leaders, and I would re-emphasize that in sharing the same values and our convergence on most regional and global issues of common concern, India and the EU are natural partners.
Hosted by the European Union, the 2018 ASEM summit will be chaired by the President of the European Council. The summit will focus on issues related to connectivity, trade and investment, sustainable development, climate change, terrorism, migration, maritime security and cyberspace.
The only way to change our world for the better is to work for a more cooperative world order and to do so together with all partners all around the world. The second message is, this is the core of our approach to multilateralism. Partnerships based on equal footing, recognizing the political value of our interlocutors, showing respect, and basing partnerships on cooperation.
Apart from the opening ceremony, Vice President Naidu will also participate in the plenary session and have interactions with various stakeholders. He will also hold bilateral meetings with various heads of states on the sidelines of the summit. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Rising 5 places from 2017, India is now the 58th most competitive economy on the World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Index for the year 2018. The United States is placed number 1 on the list of 140 economies, followed by Singapore at the second and Germany at the third position. China was ranked at the 28th position in the overall list. India, with a score of 62 points, is the biggest gainer among the G20 economies. As per the report, India leads the region in all other areas of competitiveness except for health, education and skills. Snapping 3 sessions of gains, the domestic stock markets closed in on red on Wednesday, dragged by financial stocks like India Bulls Housing Finance Limited and Yes Bank Limited amid liquidity concerns. The BSE Sensex rose 442.95 points before declining 382.90 points to end at 34,779.58. The Nifty index tanked 131.70 points to settle at 10,453.05 after earlier hitting the crucial 10,700 mark in trade. Except FMCG and IT, all other sectoral indices led by auto, finance and banking counters witnessed heavy selling pressure. Domestic markets have been facing a liquidity crunch amid rising crude prices and depreciating rupee. Chief of Army's Northern Command Lieutenant General Ranbir Singh said on Wednesday that surgical strike is only one among the wide spectrum of options available to the country against terror infrastructure across the line of control, stressing that the Indian Army will take action as the situation warrants. He also played down statements made by Major General Asif Ghafoor, spokesperson of Pakistan military's Inter-Services Public Relations, warning that Islamabad would launch 10 surgical strikes in response to a single such offensive from India. The Indian Army commander said it does not really matter as to what statements are being made from which quarter. What's important is to retain our capability, to define our capability, and to be prepared for any contingency at all times.
Our task remains to be prepared for any contingency. Various statements from various quarters will always be there, but sometimes they give us that strength and resolve to be able to further refine our capabilities. But let there be no doubt that Indian Army remains committed. Indian Army is fully capable, and when required, any challenging task will be undertaken, and you will find the Army coming out with flying colours out of any operational task.
And Delhi's air quality worsened to the very poor category for the first time this season on Wednesday. Several areas in the national capital recorded severe levels of pollution as the overall air quality index was recorded at 315. While AQI between 0 and 50 is considered good, AQI between 301 and 400 is rated very poor, and 401 to 500 is considered to be severe. According to officials, further deterioration of air quality is forecast in the coming days. And within a fortnight, the number of people infected with Zika virus rose to 86 in Jaipur. An Indian Council of Medical Research team was sent to Jaipur to intensify vector control measures. Zika virus was found in mosquitoes taken as samples from Sindhi camp area and densely populated Shastri Nagar. Health Minister JP Nadda chaired a high-level meeting to review the activities for prevention and control of the Zika virus. He also stressed the need to undertake exhaustive control measures, including fogging, while strengthening surveillance to facilitate early detection of cases. The Health Ministry has directed the National Centre for Disease Control to monitor the cases on a daily basis and also urged people not to panic. And some more news from across the country in Nationwide. Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik announced hike in the ex gratia amount from Rs 4 lakh to Rs 10 lakh each to the next of kin of those killed during Cyclone Titli. The death toll in the cyclone and subsequent floods has mounted to 57, including 10 children, while the losses suffered has been pegged at over 2,200 crore rupees. Assets worth over 218 crore rupees were attached by the Enforcement Directorate on Wednesday in the Punjab National Bank fraud case. The assets belong to fugitive dementor Mehul Choksi, Mihir Bhansali. Mehul Choksi and celebrity jeweler Nirav Modi are being sought by multiple investigating agencies after it was revealed that they had perpetrated a multi-crore fraud in the Punjab National Bank. The Enforcement Directorate registered a money laundering case in the Muzaffarpur shelter home case pertaining to alleged rape of minor girls by its officials. The Central Probe Agency filed a case under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, taking cognizance of a CBI FIR. The ED will soon issue summons to the accused, including center owner Brajesh Thakur. Over 30 girls were allegedly raped at the center-run shelter. A team of Turkish investigators have begun investigation into the disappearance and alleged murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Khashoggi, a US resident and prominent critic of the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, vanished during a visit to the Riyadh consulate in Istanbul on the 2nd of October. Khashoggi had gone there to collect official documents ahead of his upcoming wedding. According to various media reports, Khashoggi was tortured and decapitated inside the consulate. While Turkish officials believe Khashoggi was murdered and his body removed, Saudi Arabia has strongly denied the allegations. And news now from the Youth Olympics, where India's Praveen Chitravil clinched the bronze medal in triple jump. 17-year-old Chitravil recorded his best jump of 15.68 on his fourth and final attempt in stage 2 of the event to finish with a combined total of 31.52 meters. Chitravil is the second individual from India to bag a medal in athletics. With this, India's total medal tally in the Games is now at 11, comprising 3 golds, 7 silver and 1 bronze. India is currently placed at number 12 in the rankings table. And that's it from us in this bulletin. Thanks for your time.